Welcome to Shoot the Messenger. To be dramatic, today we're talking about some Epstein stuff. I think everybody's covering this right now, so I'm just going to try and take a different angle. I know a lot of you might remember William Barr when he was like working with Trump in our White House and all that. I was never a big William Barr guy. He always rubbed me wrong, and I knew there was something shady about him, just like Steve Bannon. Like, they're obviously not good people. Now that they're coming out in the Epstein files, I think I was right. But Donald Barr was William Barr's father, and he gave Epstein his first shot at a gig. Let him teach some math class or something like that at his school in New York, and that alone is kind of where all this begins. Now, what's weird about it is I never knew much about Donald Barr. I've heard of his son William, but not Donald. So once I looked into Donald, I found that he wrote this book called Space Relations back in 1973. And I figured I would read a little bit for you because it's pretty interesting. So it says this novel is a strange little comet from the early 70s, a science fiction sky. It follows John Craig, a young man from Earth who gets swept into an interstellar political system and lands on a planet called Kozar. Here is where it gets uncomfortable. Kozar runs on a rigid, feudal structure. Slavery exists, power is hereditary, social issues are sharply divided. Sound familiar? The story explores how Craig navigates that world, rising in influence while confronting a society built on domination and hierarchy. Weird. The novel deals with colonialism and imperial politics, cultural relativism, slavery within alien civilizations, and moral compromise in foreign systems. It reads less like laser battles and more like political anthropology experiment set in space. The tone is intellectual, dry, and occasionally satirical. Barr was a headmaster of the Dalton School before becoming a novelist, and you can feel that academic brain, or beneath the prose, excuse me. Now, that is already kind of weird because it's a book, right? People write books about whatever they want. So if the dude wants to write a book that kind of reflects his views towards Earth, that's what it seems like to me. It sounds like a power-hungry guy who's going to, rule this other planet just like they do here on Earth. But he had his own idea about going to space. Like I said, it's just a book so far. But why it's discussed today? In recent years, the book has drawn attention because it depicts slavery and sexual relationships between enslaved people and elites in a way many readers find disturbing. Donald Barr was the father of William Barr. Barr once worked at the Dalton School, where a young Jeffrey Epstein briefly taught in the 70s. Now there's your connection. That's what we're getting at. Because of that last point, the internet speculation has tried to draw thematic connections between the novel and Epstein. There is no evidence the book influenced Epstein or that it was anything more than a speculative fiction reflecting 1970s sci-fi tropes about empire, class, and moral relativism. Now, what the book is not, it is not a memoir, it's not a coded autobiography, and it's not confirmed to be connected to any real-world crimes. Of course not, right? I don't even think that that's even worth saying. You don't even have to say that. It's a book, okay? It is a somewhat obscure, cerebral sci-fi novel about hierarchy and power on an alien world. Think of it as a political thought experiment dressed in space opera clothing, less Star Wars, more galactic sociology lecture with a martini in hand. That already sounds weird, but these people we're dealing with are pretty weird, so there it is. Now, what are the Epstein files exactly? Well, let's get into it. This is just telling me, one thing about ChatGPT is they're never going to tell you the whole truth. So this is just them telling me they're not going to tell me everything. In other words, they're going to always try and cover up the important stuff, but here's what I could get out of them. So people don't really know what they're looking at when they're looking at the Epstein files today. I mean, people are just kind of digging through them, putting keywords in, looking for stuff, but no one really knows what they're looking at. A lot of it's confusing. But what it is it's court documents from civil lawsuits, it's grand jury records, it's flight logs from his private jet, deposition transcripts, unsealed materials from the Virginia and Maxwell case, and exhibits entered into evidence during the United States versus Ghislaine Maxwell. There's no single master binder labeled Epstein files. It's a patchwork archive of litigation records. Yeah. Now, the only thing about this is the whole Ghislaine Maxwell stuff is already real weird to me, because it doesn't seem like Epstein's the one that's holding all the power. I mean, I could be wrong, but it seems like she's the one that was related to Robert Maxwell. She's the one that had the power. She's the one that the guy that stole the black book and was trying to sell Jeffrey Epstein's black book, the butler, he even said Ghislaine Maxwell can get in castles and talk to kings and queens, and she's got a lot of power. So even he said it was her, not him. So I think that's a clue. I don't think anybody realizes that she's a lot more powerful probably than even he is, because everybody kind of has their eyeballs on Mr. Jeffrey Epstein himself. So we know he was charged in 2008. He was charged again in 2019, and then he died in 2019 in August. He died. Okay? And then Ghislaine Maxwell, she convicted in 2021 of sex trafficking and conspiracy, currently serving a 20-year federal sentence. But let's be honest, we already saw that she's living in Quebec, Canada. And if people think that that video is fake, all I would say is look at the person she's with. You can sit there and say, oh, that's just someone that looks like her. But a random person wouldn't be hanging out with Philip Maxwell, okay, her brother. So the fact that her brother is with her tells you that that's real. Now, on the other side of it, they've seen Epstein in Tel Aviv. I mean, let's not act stupid here. We know he's intelligence from Israel. We know that. We've already figured that out. That's obvious at this point. And when they saw him with his long hair and his beard in Tel Aviv, people are like, that's him. Like, no, that's fake. It's fake. Well, why is he with his bodyguard? Okay? It's the same bodyguard he had before. People need to just put two and two together, and you're going to come up with four, I promise. The people that are putting two together and coming up with five, just wouldn't listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about. If they can't even add two and two, probably not the one to ask, right? So, I'm going to go through some of the names in here because, I mean, there's a lot of a lot of stuff gets misconstrued, because if you think about it, there's so many names in the files that are just kind of brought up in conversation. There's a ton. Like Jeffrey might be talking to someone else and they bring up, oh, did you see Taylor Swift's show the other day? And then Taylor Swift's in the files because they had a conversation about her, right? Not the biggest Taylor Swift fan, but you know what I mean. So it ain't me sticking up for nobody. It's just, if you're not in there, I'm not going to act like you were. So, and that's what that's saying right there. Being named and accused of wrongdoing is definitely different between your name just popping up in the files. A lot of these people, though, they attended events, they flew on planes, and they were mentioned in depositions, and they were in contact lists. Now, those people, to me, are guilty by association. Period. You don't hang around a guy like this that's a well-known sex offender and then just play stupid. We know why you're there. I don't, at this point, don't even care if you say you didn't do anything. That doesn't do anything for me, because you've already proven to me that you're willing to do whatever. So you're going to show up after and hang out with this guy after he's already been arrested for this stuff. You're probably not a good person anyway. So Bill Clinton. Okay. So Bill Clinton, obviously, He's been a big part of the Epstein files since it first came out. Everybody knew Bill Clinton was going to be in there. People are starting to think maybe Monica Lewinsky was just someone that came from Epstein. And now that I know that Monica Lewinsky was a Jewish lady, I'm thinking, you know what? She was probably an Israeli spy. She probably was sent there by Epstein to compromise Bill. This whole thing is insane. Now, this is alleged, but definitely falls in line with everything else that happened, right? I'm not a genius, but if you really look at the whole picture and you start to think back, and that's the thing about these files, now that they've been released, you can go back and look at other stuff, and you're like, ooh, I think I figured something out. So Bill has always been part of this. I mean, he has a giant picture of Bill Clinton in a dress in his living room, so he's going to have a hard time getting away from this. And then they subpoenaed him to talk about the Epstein files, and then he just didn't show up. And then now he's got Hillary trying to protect him, but that, Hillary's not very good at that stuff. Okay, she's always getting buried by her own words, so that's not going to get her very far. It says that he acknowledged flying on Epstein's plane for philanthropic trips. So he think I'm just a nice guy who's going to help people. Me and Jeffrey, we're just going to other countries to help people. That's all. We're just really nice people who care about children. Okay, Bill. But no charges or former allegations of criminal conduct. And you're not fooling anybody, right? Like I said, this is a legend, but we're not stupid, Bill. We're not stupid. And I don't know why you think people are dumb, right? Maybe because everybody watches TV and then you watch them all act like idiots on the streets and you're like, wow, they're so easily brainwashed. Not all of us, okay? That's just your little dumbness. Donald Trump. He appears in social photos, contact books, reportedly flew once on Epstein's plane to Palm Beach or to New York, later banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago. No criminal charges tied to the Epstein case. Listen, I don't care if you're MAGA, I don't care if you're a Democrat, a liberal, you have to be completely stupid to believe that. You have to be an idiot. There's no way you can possibly believe that. And if you do believe that, because, hey, I'm a conservative, and I'll tell you straight up, that is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. I'm not buying it. Okay? Not buying it. We all know you were good friends with him for over 20 years. Matter of fact, I bet out of all the people in the files, if there's one person that's probably been around to New York, to Palm Beach, to the Zorro Ranch, to the islands, it's probably him. I bet Trump is the number one guy that's been to there more than anybody else. So when people are like, no, one time, didn't even go to the island. Dude, wake up. You're being super naive, and I hope you're not that stupid. Prince Andrew. Well, we know who he is because he got named in the Guthrie allegations, and then Virginia went missing. Now she's gone. She ended up unaliving herself, and we know how that goes, right? Just like Mr. Jeffrey unalived himself. So you have to be a little gullible to believe these things. I'm just being honest. You got to be a little gullible. You're not thinking outside the box. You believe in everything you see, and you're not thinking for yourself. He denies wrongdoing. He settled a civil lawsuit with Virginia without admission of liability. Here, have as much money as you want, but I didn't do it. Okay? I didn't do it. Just take the money. I'll never get that. I'll never understand that. Anytime you see a rich guy throwing hush money at somebody, just know there's a reason for that. Okay? They didn't just go, oh, I'm innocent, but I'll just pay him anyway. That's not how things work. I would never plead guilty to something I didn't do. And if people are like, oh, they're just trying to save reputation. Too late for that. You've already been accused. You don't have an excuse for that. Alan Dershowitz. Okay, so Alan Dershowitz is a Jewish lawyer who basically he's always going to try and protect these people. He's part of his job. If you watch my Larry Finkelstein interview that I just reacted to. He says it all inside of that interview. So go watch that. I don't even have to say it. It's all there. He was accused in civil filings by Guthrie, denies allegations, and no criminal charges. You're going to see that a lot. No criminal charges. I mean, even Ghislaine Maxwell didn't get charged till 21. Okay? So you're telling me you guys arrested Epstein in 19 and then didn't arrest his pilot, didn't arrest Ghislaine Maxwell, didn't arrest any of associates, you didn't arrest anybody, you just arrested Jeff, and then you let him out. So I don't know what is going on, but nobody has been held accountable whatsoever. 0 people. Okay? Leon Black, Mr. Leon Black, he's all over these things. And he plays the background, so a lot of people don't even know who he is, to be honest. He's just one of those guys, rich guys, that plays in the background, conning everybody, being a scumbag, and then just goes, oh, who, me? I didn't even know I was there. Yeah, I bet. So he paid Epstein large consulting fees after 2008 conviction. Shocker. Internal Apollo investigation found no evidence of criminal involvement. Nothing. He had nothing to do with it. He was all over the Epstein files, but they were just talking about gardening, typical thing guys talk about, rose petals, swimming, hockey, bullcrap. That's all lies. Okay? I can tell you that right now. That is a crock of shit. That is definitely not how this went down. Leslie Wexner. All right. So he got basically redacted out of the whole files for the most part. I think his name popped up maybe 50 or a couple hundred times in the files, but nothing real damaging. That's why when I saw the interview with him, it was super interesting, because I thought, oh, good, we get to hear his side of it. And if you watch his deposition, he basically says, I don't even know who that is at the beginning. I mean, I've heard the name, and then that kind of goes from, I've met him, to, we've never flown on each other's jets, and then they pull out flight logs. He's like, okay, I guess I did let him fly my jet. And it just kept getting worse and worse as the interview went. He went from pretty much I don't know who he is to having explained why he worked in the same company and all that. So if you haven't seen the Leslie Wexner, it's a mess. He goes from being this, oh, I'm just innocent, to, oh, I am screwed. I got to talk my way out of this. It was so bad to the point where the lawyer, we all heard the lawyer on the hot mic say, if you say anything more than 5 words, I'm going to fucking kill you, right? That's pretty ruthless to hear a lawyer say that. And I know a lot of people were taking that going, oh my gosh, that's terrifying. I can't believe he said he threatened his life. It just seemed to me like somebody that he knew for a long time. It's probably been his lawyer for years. And then homeboy just said, don't talk anymore. And that was his way of talking to someone he's known for a long time. Because we all talk to our friends in a different way that we would talk to someone else. And I don't know. That's just my opinion on that. But he was a financial backer and a major client of Epstein's. He gave Epstein power of attorney. That is insane. And that's why everyone's so confused by this. But he claims that he was defrauded by Epstein. And we know that's all lies. And he definitely could have at some point maybe taken some money from Wexner, because Epstein just wasn't a good dude. He'd steal probably from his own mother. He just doesn't care. But Les is for him to give him all of his power of attorney. A lot of people think because of the emails, there was some stuff that was like that. It sounds like Leslie Wexner and Jeffrey had a sexual relationship, and that's why they were almost like boyfriends, and that's why he gave him so much. And that makes sense to me if they had. But when they brought that up in the deposition, Wexner got super embarrassed and said, oh, heck no, I would never do that. I'm straight. I'm not so sure about that, but hey, this is all alleged, right? Yeah. Somebody, academics and intellectuals who associated socially with them. Now, Stephen Hawking's a weird one because you think in your head, like, what is he gonna do, right? Like, what could he possibly do? Now, if Stephen Hawking was there for kids, I mean, that's pretty weird, right? Because he's now, if Stephen Hawking was there because he's a scientist, and so was Jeffrey, and like he was genuinely there to talk about some science, it actually makes sense to me. Okay, I don't know. It says he's got no allegations of wrongdoing, and he appears in the email chains regarding science events in the Virgin Islands, and so he might have went out there. He might like to watch. I don't have a clue what Mr. Hawking is into, but I know he can't do too much. I know he was confined to his wheelchair, and so I'm just going to leave him alone for the most part, because if anybody was just going to have a conversation about science with Epstein, it probably would have been Hawking. Larry Summers, Mr. Larry Summers, he met Epstein in 2008 conviction, or after the conviction. Apologized for poor judgment in maintaining contact. You see, everyone's just like, oh, I didn't, my bad, I didn't really mean to, my bad. No, that's crazy to me, right? Like, that's not even, that doesn't work, buddy. Sorry, Mr. Larry Summers. We know Larry's all over the emails too. I mean, there's a lot of people in here that when you see them, you can tell they're close in his circle and that they are around him a lot. Those people, we're not buying it. You're not going to be able to get out of it. The only thing we don't like is you guys aren't going to get in trouble. So it's very obvious that you guys are part of this stuff and you're still skating. And that's bullcrap. That's what makes America mad. People ain't trying to see that. If we see dirtbags like that, we want them arrested. If we were to do the same thing, we would get arrested. That's messed up. Flight logs. All right. So flight logs, I can't think, it was called the Lolita Express, and I can't really think of a reason that I would go on a plane called the Lolita Express with Jeffrey Epstein unless I had bad things in mind. Unless I was up to no good. There's just no other reason. And I'm already thinking of someone in my head right now, but I'm not going to bring his name up because I'm sure he'll be here in a minute. But, you know, there was politicians, scientists, socialites, assistants, and victims on that plane. The pilot says that there was a door that blocked all of the bad stuff that was happening on the plane. He knew there was beds all over the plane. He knew there was young girls back there, but he's playing stupid. Oh, I don't know. I had no idea. I just flew him around for 20 years. I didn't know that he was doing anything bad on there. I mean, I only helped him install little tiny cameras all over, even in little tissue boxes at his home, because I didn't know what he was doing. I had no idea. So I just helped him set up a surveillance program. Okay, buddy. So anyone, like I said, anyone that believes these people when they say this, I can't comprehend why you would even think that stuff's true. Let's see. Appearing in the flight log only proves somebody boarded the plane. It does not establish criminal. See, I'm not buying it. I'm just not buying it. It's all alleged, right? That's to protect myself. But honestly, nah, bro. Nah. You know as well as I do, nah. What you going on that plane for, that ain't working. So let's say operational network. So they're gonna try and break down some of the how this was all working and who was involved in it. So it looks like the two big dogs were Jeffrey and Ghislaine Maxwell. Okay, so we know that they were the bosses. They were the ones that were doing everything. Jeffrey's like playing God, and Maxwell functioning as a recruiter and a social gateway. But like I said, I'm not sold on that either. I think that Ghislaine Maxwell has more power than that, and that she was a big part of this and just trying to play stupid. Financial infrastructure. So this is where Leon Black and Leslie Wexner and banks and offshore trusts helped build Epstein's wealth. It says that much was tied to financial advisory roles and tax structures. Jeffrey knew how to work money. That's why he's a financial expert. He's really good in science, but he's really good at math and financial stuff. So that's truly why these people all were coming in. I know that people are saying extortion, whatever. That could totally be true. But I'm going to be honest. Wealthy people just want to be more wealthy. That's it. And so for them, if they can find someone, say you're a billionaire, and they're like, dude, if you meet this guy, he can make you 5 times that. And so they're like, oh, really? Introduce me. So a lot of times this starts out as just someone getting introduced to who's going to help them financially. But you can tell from listening to Jeffrey's emails that eventually the financial stuff is kind of what becomes his bread and butter. You can totally tell that these people want his help and he's willing to give that to him, but he's going to hold it over your head. Like at some point he was telling Leslie Wexner that you're not the one that talked to so-and-so, I did. You're not the one that went and talked to so-and-so to get that deal, I did. You're not the one that did that, I did. So he was kind of holding it over his head like, oh no, you ain't backing out now. I did all this for you, you owe me. So Jeffrey kind of had that way of dealing with people where if you were going to try and leave the circle, he immediately would be like, oh hell no. You ain't going nowhere, buddy. I got you. So I think that's kind of what happened to Wexner. I think Wexner's just an older guy who probably has some weird fetishes. Probably likes boys, stuff like that. But he's married, and like, you know, these rich guys have their own little fetishes. And you know, if this was all adults, I'd be like, I don't really care. I mean, you got your rich people are going to do weird things. I guess it is what it is. But once kids get involved, now we got a different problem. You know what I mean? So that's what makes all this stuff so weird. It's Wexner's weird. They're all weird because you guys are messing with kids. And I can't say they're all messing with kids. I know a lot of these people that went to the island even were messing with older women. And people don't like when you say, oh, well, these women voluntarily went to the island. Well, it's tough when you got these 14, 15-year-old girls that are just going there because they think maybe they might get a modeling gig, right? And then if that modeling gig might take them somewhere, they might be able to be famous. But they don't realize that when they get there, they're stuck on an island, they're getting assaulted, they have nowhere to go. Like, that's a whole different thing, and that's creepy stuff, right? So that's one thing. Then there's the older models that went to there. Like there's a victim that was 22 or something. She was there, and she was a model, and she ended up having a bad experience there, but then stayed there for a long time and worked for Jeffrey. I have a different kind of feeling about that, right? You were a grown woman when you went there. You knew what he was doing, and then you participated. So I don't necessarily feel as bad for someone like that as I would a young woman who's getting manipulated to come there, gets like basically kidnapped. I just wonder where the parents. Because honestly, if my daughter was like, hey, I met this rich billionaire who says he can help me with my modeling career, I would say, oh, cool, where are we going? Right? Oh, you can't go. Only me. He says, me, only I can come by myself. I'd be like, well, then you're not going. You're not going to some rich dude's house, island by yourself. You're 14. No way. So who is letting their kids do that? That's the craziest part to me. I don't understand that. It would just never happen. Never happen, I promise you. So the older women that have participated in this stuff, you know, I don't know. I even heard stuff about Virginia kind of slapping on some of the younger girls around and stuff like that. Like she was almost a participant too. And so when you hear those things, it's a little disturbing, you know, and this is alleged, but I did hear that, you know, from another interview. And anytime you hear that stuff, you just think, man, this is one big game where everyone's playing stupid, or I don't know. It's a tough situation to break down. He was messing with politicians, Nobel Prize winners, royal family members, university administrators. You know, I've even heard rumors of how Ghislaine Maxwell's dad wrote all of the school books in all the schools, like all your history books and all that, was all written by Robert Maxwell. Well, that's creepy. Because if that's the case, that's a problem. And then I also heard that Jeffrey Epstein was in charge of the company that took all the photos for the school, like the yearbooks and stuff. And I don't know how much of that's true because I don't know how all that works, but that is, man, academia sounds like it's a problem if it's got these major big weirdos involved controlling our system, right? And just think about that. It doesn't even, it's hard to even fathom. It feels like the Twilight Zone. So, assistants, recruiters, property managers, some have been charged. Wow, really? Many have not. See, that's interesting because as far as Jeff goes, he's the only one I know that's been charged. I mean, Ghislaine Maxwell, but like we said, like they're not even in prison. They're both out, right? So, and that's not alleged. I don't care what no one says. That's, that might be alleged. I'll say it's alleged, but that's no. I believe what I see. Okay, I can think for myself. Theories. Intelligence operation. All right, so now we're getting to the good stuff. Some speculate that Epstein was connected to intelligence services due to his unexplained wealth, his blackmail leverage potential, and his connections. There's no public confirmed evidence supporting this. That just isn't true. That's just not true. If you read the emails, you will come to that same conclusion. I mean, he never served in the military, but you're gonna see pictures of him in full Navy uniform with medals. And they might say, oh, that was just like a costume party. Yeah, but look at his uniform, okay? Take a close look at it. Look at the medals on there. You tell me if that is just some little thrown together birthday or a Halloween costume. I'm not buying that at all. Then all the other pictures you see him in are Marines, Navy. It was almost weird that every time I would see a picture, he'd be wearing some kind of military sweatsuit or something. And I was like, you're not even military, but you sure do wear a lot of military clothes for someone that's not military. So I don't really trust him. I think it's a big game. I think he's not really even who he says he is. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not even a real person and that he has been kind of a made-up scapegoat, because you can put all this on somebody that's a fabricated person and then it just falls flat. Who are you going to blame? Everyone else is just hiding in the shadows while this fake persona takes all the blame. And people are like, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. You still believe it? You still think it's a conspiracy theory after seeing all the Epstein files? Okay. Then I don't even know what to tell you. If you can't figure this stuff out, nobody's going to explain it to you. You have to do it yourself. The blackmail network. Now, they say he had hidden cameras in the properties, victims' testimony about recording. No official finding has confirmed blackmail ring. You notice that? You keep seeing these little exclaimers at the end. They're like, nothing proves this really happened. This didn't happen. Well, I'm going to give you a little clue before we continue on. He's from Israel, okay? Epstein is. Epstein's in Israel intelligence. But, not only that, guess who makes ChatGPT? Israel. Okay, they are not going to tell you anything that makes Epstein look bad in this. So when I look and do my research, I always try and look, and I'll take these little crumbs they give me and then figure it out from there. They are not going to tell you the truth. I'm just being honest. And if you go look at any other people and say, oh, just use a different AI chat if you're doing research or something. They're all owned by Israel. It doesn't matter. Jews own every single one of the chat AI stuff. You're not going to be able to avoid it. So you can pick a different one if you want, but it's the same thing. You got the same ball, just doing a different dance. A coordinated elite cover-up. Now, it says powerful individuals protected him. We know that. Prosecutional leniency in 2008 was intentional shielding. We know that. Now, Acosta, I guess, made a comment back then that said, I can't do anything to him because he's intelligence. Okay? That's what he says. Acosta says that he was approached, told he was Israel intelligence. And honestly, I don't think he's just Israel intelligence. I think he works for both of them. I think he works for Mossad and our CIA. And that is why he's so protected. Think about it. It's one thing to work for Israel's intelligence, but if you work for the U.S. intelligence as well, who's going to go after you, right? So, and then just like Larry Finkelstein was saying, he was saying that no matter what, they're just, even if they do take him to court, they'll get a Jewish judge, they'll get a Jewish lawyer, and then at the end of the day, they're going to get off. So it doesn't matter. It's all kind of predetermined. Good luck. And I believe that. I think that's where we are in a society since about 1914, according to him. So, let's see. Okay, now some facts here. 2008, non-prosecution agreement was widely criticized. It sure was. Federal officials later admitted it was deeply flawed. Yes, it sure was. It sure was. He got 6 days a week. He was on work release for 16 hours a day. Okay? I don't know a pedophile on the planet that would go to jail, get 16 hours of free time every day, then just has to report back to the jail for 8 hours, right? That is just so he can sleep. So basically would sleep at the jail, wake up, leave all day, come back and sleep at the jail. And allegedly was abusing victims while he was supposed to be in jail. What kind of system is this? That would never happen down at our level. That's why that stuff's so disturbing. It just pisses me off to even think about. So Acosta, who I was just talking about, who said he was intelligence, so he had to back off. He said Epstein served 13 months with work release privileges, like I was just telling you about. This deal remains one of the most controversial aspects of the case. You think? If anything, that just told him I'm untouchable. I can get out and I'm gonna do this again, and no one can stop me. So it's not like it didn't teach him a lesson. What was found in release files? No client list formally proving criminal participation of named elites. No sealed documents naming coordinated global traffic cabal. No verified evidence of ritual organized political conspiracy. That just bugs me. That's all the Epstein files are. If you're reading that stuff, that's all you see. All you see is a giant organized political conspiracy. It's all you see. You see the trafficking. You see all the elites. So that is just all lies. To be completely honest with you, they're just not telling the truth. But what does exist? Allegations, civil depositions, social associations, financial ties, and travel records. Why it feels bigger than what's proven? Well, billionaires with mysterious wealth, global elites, underage trafficking, private islands, political access, and sudden jail death. It reads like a thriller manuscript, but courtrooms require evidence, not implication. Now, read that. Can you believe they had the nerve to even say that? They just, that's what they named. They named billionaires with mysterious wealth, global elites, underage trafficking, private islands, political access, and sudden jail death. And said, oh, look, it's kind of like a movie, but there's no proof of anything in there. Dude, people go to jail for much less than that every single day in America. every day with way less proof than what we've read in these. So that's unbelievable that they would even say that. The real network map. Oh, because this one's based on evidence. So this one's going to tell us the truth. Ghislaine Maxwell was a recruiter and had social access. Yeah, we know that. Wealthy financial clients, political and academic, social professional contacts, victims, assistants, and recruiters. The strongest document criminal link was Epstein to Maxwell to victims. That's insane. So they're just going to pretend like all those other names in the emails, they were just talking about lunch. All the talk about pizza, they just liked pizza. They just wanted to go to lunch every day. That's all. They just love beef jerky and pizza. Who doesn't, right? So they're just foodies. This is a bunch of foodies who did nothing wrong at all. So anybody that thinks these people are doing something bad, you're out of your mind. They just love food. They really expect you to think that. And they want you to believe that you cannot think for yourself at all, and that you're dumb as rocks, and that you're going to read this and just go, oh, okay, all right. Just like when people read Facebook and go, oh, wow, that really happened. I don't even know what to say. Questionable judgment, social proximity, financial entanglements, and allegations not proven in court. So here's the reality of it. An investigator would separate the confirmed criminal convictions, oh yeah, civil allegations, okay, mere social contact with just saints, he just hung out with saints, media amplification, right, just the media is just blowing this into something it's not, even though they're not even covering it, and online speculation. Yeah, because people are online, those are just goyim that could never figure it out for themselves, right? How would they know? How would they know? They don't know what they're talking about. Don't listen to them. But what the documents show, a sex trafficking operation was run by Epstein and Maxwell, and they had no clients. They had no clients. They just did it themselves. And everybody else was just hungry. They were just hungry. But what it doesn't prove is a verified multinational political blackmail conspiracy. That's not what it is. No way. There's no way you could read those files and think that. What? Are you kidding me? No way. Oh, God. So anyway, this is the kind of stuff you're going to see from ChatGPT or any AI that tries to fill you in on what's going on. It doesn't matter what you type or what you put in there. It's going to filter it to make it seem like this. Because the media does the same thing. The only people you see telling the truth about this stuff are the people online that can think for themselves. They can connect the dots. They can put the pieces together and be like, oh, wow, look at that. Look at that, right? But, hey, we're just supposed to sit here with our head in the clouds, play stupid, just believe what you're told, be a good little sheep, and everything will be okay. It's all cakes and rainbows, you know what I mean? So until next time, this is Shoot the Messenger. Please leave a comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.